Hi there, Mai. Welcome. You're standing at the base of Auckland's most famous landmark, the Sky Tower. Building the tower was an engineering feat that took 2,660 tons of steel, 1,500 cubic meters of concrete, and 33 months. Now all those ingredients are pointing straight up in the air, reaching a height of 328 meters and weighing 21 million kilograms. The platform at the top provides the best view you'll see of Tamaki Makaurau. That's Auckland. But before you take the lift up the tallest building in the Southern Hemisphere, we're going to give you a bit of local knowledge, take you on a journey from now to then. And by the end of it, you'll look at Auckland in a completely different light, even if you live here. So stay put, because we'd like to introduce you to Auckland's many faces and tell you a little bit about how it got here. But to do that, we need to turn back the clock. Maori described the time before humans as the Ao Kohatu, the age of stone, when rocks and mountains used to just move about the place. The truth in this lies in the landscape. In ancient Auckland, mobile melted rock flowed across forests, and the mountains you see today simply grew out of flat bushland. You see, today Auckland may be the city of sails, but in the past it was the city of volcanoes. In the last few thousand years, most of Auckland was born, and it was a fiery birth. Molten magma, that's rock so hot its liquid came spurting up with amazing force from 100 kilometers underground, erupting on what's now the surface of central Auckland.
There's heaps of volcanoes situated around Auckland, like Rangitoto and Mount Victoria and North Head down in Devonport, and there's craters too, like Koki and Takapuna.
When they erupt, it's really red and it's hot lava, and when it hits the water it goes all steamy and it pours down the side of the mountains and it melts lots of things when lava hits them, just so hot so it melts.
Imagine the ground you're standing on being 2,000 degrees, red hot and moving. That kind of thing can change the landscape forever. The Auckland area went from flat and forested to hilly and rocky. Central Auckland is made up entirely of volcanic cones, or the lava that flowed out of them. 48 separate eruptions in all, and a volcanic field that's still active. Auckland's oldest volcanoes are 250,000 years old, but most of the ones you can see today are considered young, at 10 to 30,000 years old. And the youngest of all is also the biggest.
The most obvious volcanic feature that you would see is Rangitoto, which is only about 800 years old, and that's by far the biggest. You can see Mount Albert, which is on the western side of the field. You can see Mount Eden, which is sort of in the middle of the field. You can see a little cluster just off toward the suburb of Remuera.
The volcanic cones you'll see are cooled bubbles of melted rock, while the gentler slopes are caused by the flowing of liquid lava away from the cone at a heat of more than 1,000 degrees.
Well, in theory, you could see 48 volcanoes, but that takes a practiced eye. I think the average person visiting the Sky Tower would see perhaps 20 volcanoes if they counted them carefully.
There isn't a city in the world that's built on such an active volcanic field, which makes Auckland unique and a geologist's delight.
25,000 years ago, I would like to have been standing about a kilometre over there, and the first thing I would have expected to feel is perhaps some ground shaking, and then quite soon after that, the beginning of a fire fountain event. So a small fountain of fire coming out of the ground, gradually growing up, and this would be throwing material out, but not too far. And as that event took place, then we'd see the beginning of this mountain growing.
Most of Auckland's eruptions were small and short-lived, and as the lava cooled, nature came back to the Auckland area. Forests sprang up in the new volcanic soil, and the area began to teem with wildlife, which thrived in the moist climate. You can get an idea of what ancient Auckland's landscape looked like by looking across to Rangitoto, the youngest volcanic island, which is still an undulating land of birds and forest. Aotearoa, New Zealand, before humans, was a land without natural predators, which is why some of our most famous birds, like the moa and of course the kiwi, don't fly. They never had anything to fly away from. It was to this land which a new people came with new culture and new legends.
Māori had this fantastic superhero. His name was Maui. He was a very strong warrior. He was a very strong man. And one of the great things he did for us was actually to fish up the North Island. And he did that from the South Island, which is regarded as his canoe. His hook went down into the ocean. It caught the fish's lip and pulled that fish out from the sea. And when the fish broke into the ocean, everybody could see the glory that was his. Anyway, his brothers got very, very hungry, and they started to eat this fish. Chomp, chomp, chomp. As far as Auckland was concerned, they took great big grabs around the bays, and that is why Auckland looks the way that it does. The Māori people came on canoes like this. They were known as the Vikings of the South Seas to Auckland. The currents brought them here, and it was said that if you could hold Auckland, then you could hold the northern part of the North Island. So they settled around these wonderful volcanic cones that we see today. They had their gardens here, they had their pits here, they had their fortifications here, and pa life, or village life, began to develop around these magnificent volcanoes. Auckland became the place known as Tamaki Makaurau, the place of the 100 lovers, the place desired by many. And we can see why it is desired, even today.
Ka noho nei o ka titiro ka whakarongo ki ngā tai e pari ana ki te ako. Te urunga maira o ngā tīpuna e. Ka neke taku te tero ki te wai te mata. Te wai koukou o ngā tīpuna e. Ka peke atu taku te tero ki maunga whau, ki maunga rei, ki maunga keke. Ngā hautu tāwara o ngā tīpuna. Ka peke atu taku te tero ki te awa tāmaki e. Te here ngā maira honga waka honga tīpuna e.
Although New Zealand is known as a young country in European terms, the land you're standing on has been occupied for a millennium. The first Europeans that arrived in Auckland found Māori pa covering every volcanic lump with a complex system of earthworks and agriculture. The moko, or tattoo, was as strong on the land as it was on the faces and bodies of the Māori, and pa remains can still be seen in Auckland today. Already established in trade routes throughout the Pacific, the tangata whenua, or people of the land, were keen to trade with the European visitors. And during the first part of the 1800s, more and more European, English and Australian visitors came to this new land in the South Pacific and started to make new lives. It was decided Auckland was to be settled as the capital of the newest British colony, New Zealand. On the 16th of September 1840, the Union Jack was raised at Britomart Point. This is what Auckland looked like in those days. The late 1800s saw immigrants from China, Italy, Germany, India and the Pacific Islands. So Auckland was diverse, even back then. Villages cropped up all over the place, which is part of the reason Auckland is so spread out. As it grew, Auckland always had an eye to lifestyle and leisure. It was one of the first places in the world to allow workers Saturday afternoons and Sundays off. This worked perfectly with Aucklanders' love of the outdoors. Ever since then, Auckland has been the fastest growing region in New Zealand and was pretty proud of it too.
Through the half-million mark, New Zealand's largest city expects to be home to 1 million people in 22 years. With Auckland City, Takapuna City and 20 satellite boroughs, Aucklanders can proudly say, we are the greatest. In both suburbs and city, the expansion is rapid and is accelerating. The half-million celebrations are underway. The pioneering spirit is remembered and a new pioneering age with motorways and town planning is about to begin. The wind is cold, the weather patchy, but Greater Auckland's 100 square miles provides plenty of onlookers. The fair sex always has its appeal, but for the present, some people find more interest in go-karts. Nighttime and the sparkling spectacle of a 1,000-pound firework display. Flares and flourishes, bomb-bursts and splendor symbolize Auckland's rocketing expansion.
Today, Auckland is still the fastest growing region in New Zealand. Thanks to those ancient volcanoes, it's still a city where you're never far from the water. Fingers of sea push into every part of town, and the waters vary from sparkling and calm on Waitemata Harbour to the pounding and crashing of the Tasman Sea on the black sand of West Coast beaches. Auckland today casts everything from fishing rods to an eye to the future, and keeps a strong sense of the past. It's a place where you can enjoy city life, but the countryside and nature are never far away. It's home to well over 1 million people, and a lot more than that visit every year. Auckland is also home to 100 different nationalities, and it has the largest Polynesian population of any city in the world. Auckland is about beautiful places, a lot of fun, and a little healthy competition.
Auckland is like quite a friendly place and all, and I like it how you can go over the harbour bridge and look at all the yachts in the bay. It looks really cool.
I like Auckland because there's heaps of things to do, different places to go, and there's heaps of friendly people around.
It's really sandy and stuff, and it's very natural because it's got all these trees and everything, and like you can just go swimming and stuff because the beach is only 10 or 15 minutes away, no matter where you live.
So here we are, back where we started. Now it's time to see this view in 3 dimensions. But when you do, take a moment to have a look at it through the eyes of the past. Imagine the erupting cones and flowing, glowing lava. Think about what life was like when every hill was a garden. Life came from legend, superhuman demigods and fantastic fishing rods. Where the volcanoes hold the mark of ancient civilizations, but are a modern-day playground. And remember, if you've been here, you're part of Tamaki Makaurau forever.
The Māori have this concept of all the lines of men, and you have to sort of like think about this great big rope going from one end of the universe to the next, from one end of time to the next. And we're all part of that rope. All men, all women, all children, are part of it. And the thing about that is that when you come to Auckland, you yourself become intertwined with that rope for a time, and you add to that rope. So your whole coming here and your whole being here has made this important addition to the life of Auckland. When you leave, it doesn't matter that you've gone, you are still here.
This is Auckland. Welcome.
Mm-hmm.